Welcome, one and all, to the Ferret and Raccoon podcast, episode 204. I'm the Indigenous Owl.
And I'm the Angry Raccoon, bringing you the first podcast of November 2022. And we are, we're actually really close to Christmas. It's actually quite scary.
Yeah, literally right around the corner. And remember the 5th of November.
Yes, exactly. That is the day we are actually recording on. We specifically decided to record this podcast on this day, although I know it's going up on the 7th, but still, it's the thought that counts at the end of the day. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm joined by Owl once again for one of the last podcasts of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess I'll ask, what have you been up to over the last, almost a month since the last time you were on?
Yeah, again, back and forth of work. But I did actually manage to finish watching Tekken Bloodline. I believe it was I forgot the actual title of the series. I think it is Tekken Bloodline. Yeah, on Netflix. I managed to actually finish the series yesterday. Oof.
Oh no.
Yeah, all I'm going to say for now is I'm very disappointed in it. Very disappointed.
Yeah, okay, that does not bode well.
Yeah.
That does not bode well.
And again, funny enough, I've been getting back into gaming again. I'm gonna leave the story until a bit later on. But yeah, there's a few games that got back into, which I'm really happy about. But again, I'll expand on that later on in the podcast. So yeah.
Fair enough. So eventful to some extent.
Yeah.
I actually had a pretty interesting and eventful couple of days. I was off, like I said on the previous podcast, so I actually got some things done for once. I know some people, or not even some people, I'm just a little bit annoyed that I don't get more done over the course of 2 weeks. Not that I do it just for me to have something to talk about on these podcasts, but just in general, just be keeping up on stuff. And there's things I actually do want to watch. And I actually did some things. I finally watched Made in Abyss, Dawn of the Deep Soul. This is the third Made in Abyss film, which serves as a continuation of season 1.
Okay.
And it's also like the middle ground between season 1 and season 2, which is, I think, finishing up or currently airing. So yeah, if for some reason you didn't know about the 3 Made in Abyss films and you only watch season 1 and you go into season 2, you're going to be confused because you've just missed a whole story.
Ooh,
I'm not going to get into spoilers because this is movie 3 of a series.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this film. I thought the pacing was a little bit, unfortunately, rushed, which I do feel like maybe a smaller season would have benefited a bit more, just so we can spend a little bit more time with the characters, because we do get introduced to a new character and we don't spend enough time with them. The series just kind of is like, oh, here they are, we're doing this, we're doing there, we're going there. Everything else besides that is great. I think the animation has a nice step up from the first season. And yeah, every other element is on point. It definitely is as disturbing and as creepy as it is. Definitely a lot of scenes and shots that I'm definitely like, yeah, that's the worst. That's all I can really say with some of the stuff. But yeah, if you haven't watched Made in Abyss and you want something that's shifted in a more adventure, mystery, horror angle, I'd highly recommend the series. Next thing I watched was a TV series, a thing I only just found out about on the day and then just watched the whole series because I had to, and that is going to be Kunk on Earth.
Okay.
Which is a BBC One documentary series following Philomena Kunk, who is a presenter, as she essentially goes through the whole history of Earth. Everything that's happened in civilization in a very formative and very professional way, as she explains certain periods and moments within history and life, as well as talking to some experts on said fields and said examples. And the thing I love about Philomena Kunk is that she always asks like really challenging and interesting questions, like really like puts these like professionals like through their paces and really asks like serious questions that gets you thinking. For example, one question she asks a professional is, she says, what was more significant in the world, the Renaissance or Single Ladies by Beyonce? It's a question that I think we've all been, thinking about ever since Single Ladies came out, ever since the Renaissance came out. And she asked very serious questions like this. And if you can't already tell, I am joking. This is a comedy series. It is a parody. And the reason I have to make that distinction is because Philomena Kunk as a character, it's hard to believe she's even played by an actress because her performance is that believable. She delivers some of the most bizarre and strange and just out there lines. It's it's surprising that anyone is not laughing to some extent. Like, even just within the first episode where she's talking about early man and she's literally exploring a cave and she goes, I'm in a cave not because I'm a wolf or because I'm lost, but because I've been told to. You know, just that weird bluntness just makes the show really great. And it's hilarious to see these, you know, professionals who clearly know so much about like history and their craft just almost being dumbfounded by her questions of just not really knowing how to handle them. But if you haven't watched anything from, I guess, the Kunk On series, because she's done a couple with Kunk on Christmas and England as well, it should be noted as well that one of the writers, or I guess the creator of this series, is Charlie Brooker, most notably known for Black Mirror. So you know it's going to be a good series. And the final thing I played was Resident Evil Village, Shadows of Rose, which is the DLC for Resident Evil Village. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think there's a few areas or places where I think it could have done with a little bit more polish. A few things are a bit janky and not quite clear, but it's basically just a little bit more Village. And I think that's good. It's a nice, decent length. It will probably take you about 3 hours to beat. Just something to kind of end this chapter of Resident Evil, because I don't want to spoil too much, because it does take place right after the end of Resident Evil 8. So if you just want a little bit more Resident Evil 8 and you haven't picked up the winter expansion, as they call it, which gives you third person mode for the main game and like I think 2 new maps for mercenaries, I'd highly recommend it. It's good. I'm not blown away by it, but it's enjoyable. It's roughly what I wanted. But as we're pretty much 40% done with this podcast already, let's move on to our first trailer, which is going to be for Zootopia Plus, or as we are in England, Zootropolis Plus. For those of you wondering why I made that, once again, that distinction, it's because, Zootopia is called Zootropolis in England because Disney could not get the copyrights for the word Zootopia because a zoo in London owns it. So they had to change the whole film's name.
Right.
Yeah, but I prefer to call it Zootopia because I think that's a much better name than Zootropolis.
Yeah, I agreed.
But so this series sequel, or as I later found out, this series of events that are going to take place during the film, this is like 3 years too late to some extent. Like does anyone remember this film besides furries? I mean, that's a question to be debated, but Disney really should have greenlit a sequel from like time. Like, it's one of their biggest and best films of recent years, in my opinion. And jokes aside, it's like a very popular film. Like, they dropped the ball on this big time.
When did the last film come out?
2016.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is a long time then, yeah.
Yes, too long. Like, when you literally have... I was going to say lightning in a bottle. I don't know if lightning in a bottle would be the right... Yeah. When you have lightning in the bottle and you're doing nothing with it for maybe, literally like 6, 7, whatever years, you're kind of messing up. But looking at this 47-second long trailer, which was part of another showcase of Disney things, there isn't really an official trailer as far as I could find. So if it does get uploaded, I'll replace the current link in the description and download link. Visually and from an animation standpoint, it looks good. Like, there isn't any noticeable drop in quality, unlike other series on Disney where you can clearly see that one has not got the budget it deserves. Disney has clearly put money into it, and the character movements are really fluid. There has been an improvement in animation, not to say the original film was bad or anything. And, the presentation is on point. I guess now the billion-dollar question now is, do we need a Zootopia TV series? In my opinion, yes. I think it's a creative world that was, begging to be explored. I mean, you have how do you fathom a world where every single kind of animal can live in the right place in the right climate? It's a unique concept that I think they did a good job with. And I think we need questions answered because people have questions. People have people have asked questions. See, I'm stumbling over my words already because I'm that excited for this podcast. What do predators eat? That's one of the main concepts of being predator and prey and that kind of stuff, to which, according to the director, they eat bugs, like bug burgers and that, which, okay. And another question a lot of people have asked is, there's milk in Zootopia. So who the fuck's getting milked? that it's a joke, but still, it's a legit question. Where is that milk coming from? But yeah, I don't think any of these questions are going to be answered, as I'm actually a bit disappointed that it's only focusing on existing characters from the film. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't be in this series. It's just, it feels a bit lazy to have like this massive universe and like you're not exploring anything. You're just kind of focusing on the main characters or recognizable characters rather than, you know, telling a new story. And like, yeah, some of these characters in this series are side characters, but you know, that's not exactly fresh. Al, do you have anything else to add to this? I mean, I have lots more to say, but
you know what? I thought, because I haven't actually watched the Zootopia films myself.
Oh no, okay.
But one of my colleagues at work, she actually showed me a scene from one of the films. I can't remember which one, if it was from 2 or 1. You'll know.
There's only one film.
Oh, there's only one. Oh,
Yeah,
I
one
didn't
film,
realise.
Yeah.
She introduced me to the scene where I don't know any of the characters' names, but we're in the office and it's like those slow sloths.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The driving place. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. So she introduced. So she was telling me. She actually recommended me to watch the film actually, and she was showing me that scene, which I thought was actually really funny.
It is a good scene.
Yeah. And then so when I'm watching this trailer now, and I saw like them appear at the end, I was actually like, oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking, okay, I might need to give this film a watch, and probably this is coming up.
The series, yeah.
The series is coming up as well.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
that's good. I mean, I probably should have checked as to whether you'd seen the first film.
No, I've never seen it, but it's fine.
Not that I think you have to see this film, because it does take place in between. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know if this is going to spoil the film.
Sure.
Because I'd imagine because given one of the stories, I think, yeah, one of the stories takes place, it revolves around the main character, Judy Hopps, her parents. And I think she gets on a train to go to Zootopia. And I think they have to chase after the train or something like that because one of Judy's many siblings got on the train with her.
Sure.
So it doesn't really spoil the film. Oh no, Judy gets on a train. I've spoiled Zootopia for you. But yeah, it is interesting that it's going to take place in between, although I feel like that's a bit messy to some extent. Although a lot of these episodes do have really fun and interesting like themes, like the real rodents of Little Rodea. Rodent Dea. You know, some of them do feel a little bit gimmicky to some extent, like the one with Flash the sloth and he's at the restaurant. Is that going to be just the joke that he's just slow? Because I mean, as they say in the film, he's the fastest sloth around. So like, is the joke just that they're slow again? Because you can't really do that twice. It's got to be a little bit more than just that. And I mean, you know, you've also got one episode is called So You Think You Can Prance, which is obviously a parody So You Think You Can Dance. Yeah, like Sing has already done that like twice. You know, it's not that fresh. And obviously you have an episode called The Godfather of the Bride, which is just a reference to The Godfather. Yeah, it's a spoof that kind of just ruins the joke in the film because there is like a shrew who is the Godfather, or they call him the Shrew Father. Yeah, the idea of like spoilt shrews, like the little rodent characters you see in the trailer, like on a reality show as like, you know, Desperate Housewives or whatever. That's a really funny concept. I think that's, you know, it's funny to see such small characters like gossiping and potentially bitching about each other to some extent. And the fact that they have like, they're so small, they have a lot of power behind them.
Yeah.
That's a great concept. And I do love the little cutaway they have where like the polar bear is like pouring the champagne and he's like fearfully doing it because obviously if he messes up, the boss is going to have his head. You know, it's a good example of like world building as well as like a weird in-universe like fourth wall break / behind the curtains as to how the show's made, because of course they're just on a tiny little set. Someone's made a set for them to go and sit on the sofa to talk, much like in real reality shows where they're like, right girls, we know you and Sandra have been having issues, we need to discuss this, we're going to film the scene, Sandra sits there, Carol, you sit there, we're going to set up the cameras, get the lighting, make up, you know, that's how they do those reality shows. They're incredibly fake. So I do kind of hope they do that. But this and other episodes could be very one-noted. That's my biggest worry with this, that it's just going, that's it. Yeah. The joke is we are parodying reality shows. Which I hope it's not, but we'll see. And I mean, I just wish we could have had something a little bit more unique, like new characters or like, you know, just an example like characters solving another crime. Just a buddy cop story. I think that would have been a little bit more interesting than just things that did but didn't happen during the events of Zootopia, which took place over the course of 3 days. Maybe they'll do that for the second season. Who knows? But right now, I was just like, Anything else you want to add? I know... I'm sorry, you haven't seen the film.
No, I haven't seen the film, so there's not really much else I can really say, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's fine. Not a super mega fan, unlike me. But yeah, we'll watch the film after recording.
Yeah,
that'll be the first thing you talk about on 205.
Yeah, exactly.
Next trailer, I believe you have.
Yeah, so the next trailer is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I ain't really got much to say about the trailer, but
I mean, does anyone?
I mean, I guess from watching the trailer, it seems like, well, he's just talking about his day-to-day life, and then literally it just cuts to the fact that, they're opening some sort of gate to some new dimension called Quantumania.
The quantum realm, I think.
Yeah,
is what
quantum
it's
realm. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but I think with this film, I haven't watched the other Ant-Man films.
You're not missing much.
But yeah, I feel like from what I've seen people say about this film, it's going to be probably a bit more serious than the previous two. But I thought there was one scene in the trailer that I thought was maybe trying a bit too hard, which was when he leaves the calf and then the guy's like, "Oh yeah, see you later, Spider-Man." And it's just like, okay,
I thought that joke was cute.
Okay.
I think maybe people in the comments, or maybe when people watch the film, I think they're gonna ruin it because every comment is just that. Like, just referencing, oh, he's Spider-Man and that. I think that's a great joke. It's way better than there's a joke in the first film where I can't remember. There's like a really bad use of product placement.
Okay.
Where I think Hank or Ant-Man or whoever, he's working. I think he's either working or either goes to like that restaurant, Bass and Robinson's, the donut muffin place. I don't know what it's called.
I'm not sure.
But literally, there's a joke where he's just like, oh yeah, we always find out. And I was like, they mention their name. It's obviously, it takes place in a shop, and it's just it didn't work. But yeah, I mean, this is a sequel to a film that I don't think anyone has actually seen. Because Ant-Man and the Wasp came out, unfortunately, I think either before or just after COVID, so it's technically not their fault. But I didn't hear anyone talk about this film. Because that's the film where the Wasp gets introduced. And I'm going to be frank, this film looks ugly. Like, it's a CGI fest. Like, it hurts my eyes. Like, honestly. Like, it's too colorful, or like it's not lit correctly. Like, some scenes are way too dark and some scenes are way too bright. Clearly, whoever's animating this, there's no rules. There's no... The world looks like this. This part of the world is meant to be dim. It's all over the place. And I don't blame them, because Disney's probably just said, animate it. And they've just been given that. And this film, like, gives me, like, Star Wars prequel vibes.
Yeah, I got that as well.
Where, like, everything looks fake, and, like, it's basically just a cartoon world, and, like, the actors are clearly behind blue screens or green screens. You don't want to be compared to the Star Wars prequels. I mean, I don't know if we're the only people saying this. I've seen a few people mention it, but I don't know. It's, like... Filming with the actors must have been real easy. They must have filmed for like a few weeks and then it was done. Because like, yeah, they must have just got all their scenes done in an afternoon. Because, yeah, they're behind green screens and stuff. Like, nothing looks real. And I understand it's a fantasy world. No one has the budget to create all that stuff practically. I get that. But you don't have to just make everything look like it's from a video game.
No, it's true. No, I agree.
And I mean... Yeah, I mean, the only thing I did like about this trailer was I like some of the visual effects, mainly with Ant-Man, where he's like kind of both versions of himself are kind of morphing back into one, and his body and his reality are messing around. I thought that's visually interesting. I hope there's actual stuff like that. And I think the whole idea of, oh no, we got sucked into another world, that I kind of like. That's kind of like a classic setup for a film. Like, oh, we're in this new world and we're going to explore it. That's kind of cool to some extent. But other than that, I'm not feeling this at all. It's a shame, because Edgar Wright was going to do the original Ant-Man film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was going to do that, but due to creative differences, it didn't work out.
Oh, that's a shame.
It is a shame, because according to, I think it was either Kevin Feige or someone, he apparently stated that Edgar Wright's script for Ant-Man was one of the best he's ever read. So it's a shame, but that's the timeline we live in. Next trailer we have, staying with Disney, Marvel. Yeah, these were the only trailers. We have Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which is going to be a 40-minute special, airing, I believe, actually in November, weirdly enough. Essentially revolving around the Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess this takes place... I think it's the most current thing to take place, because if I remember correctly, it's the end of Phase 4. Essentially Star-Lord, he's a bit upset for reasons. I won't say why, just in case of spoilers, but it seems like his good buddies, Drax and Mantis, are going to try and cheer him up this Christmas season, which is, it's a very classic setup. It's very holiday special. Oh, a friend is down. We've got to cheer him up. It's the holiday season, which is great. The lack of Rocket Raccoon obviously upsets me. He needs to be in this trailer more. I don't like the fact that he was in like 2 scenes. Like, he better be in more of this. Otherwise, it's getting a 0 from me. It does look like a lot of fun. And I think just the idea of having Drax and Mantis, the most chaotic characters in that franchise, on Earth, essentially harassing and hunting down Kevin Bacon, is a brilliant concept.
I like that idea as well. Yeah, that's really good.
I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see these aliens on Earth and reacting regarding Christmas.
Yeah.
But anything else you wanted to say about this trailer?
I just loved how he just busted through the glass.
Yeah.
Just came into the house. That was great. I'm not even I've never actually watched any of the Guardians of the Galaxy films or anything like that, but actually watching this trailer, I thought, this looks good.
It looks fun. I mean, I think this should be good because it's James Gunn kind of going for a more... more comedy. He's probably going to be let loose a little bit more to add more comedic scenes and that, because the Guardians of the Galaxy films are quite funny, although having like serious tones and still being action films, which is great. He's been the only person to really ride that line perfectly, where it doesn't feel like a comedy, but it doesn't feel like an all-out action, serious, write down your notes because this is gonna be referenced in 3 films from now kind of thing. Because I remember correctly, there's literally like 1 reference to another Marvel film in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and they literally the film just stops. Here's the Infinity Stone. Back to the film, which is great. It's really refreshing to have that, but I'm really interested in it. I love the, I didn't send it to you, but everyone look up the poster for this Christmas special. It's great. It's just Drax and Mantis just on a street corner covered in Christmas lights like they're drunk. It's brilliant. It's strong. If I can, I'm going to make it the thumbnail for this podcast because it's great. And for some reason, Mantis is wearing sunglasses despite it being nighttime. Don't know what's going on there, but okay. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up the trailers. I believe you're going to introduce our discussion.
Yeah, so we will be sharing stories about the past from our gaming memories and everything. So first and foremost, I'm going to introduce, I'm not even going to talk about my stories just yet, but we actually, last week Saturday, we went on a retro gaming hunt, actually.
Yes,
we went around London and went all the way to North London and then worked our way back down to South London. I thought, the game shops were really good, really felt like they're just rare gems.
Do you want to mention the names, like name drop them?
Yeah, actually, so the first one that I'll recommend is in N1 Games, which it's a smaller game shop, but it does have really, really good, a really good collection in there. And it has like some of the rarer games in like glass cabinets as well, all nicely displayed and everything, which is great. Then the second game shop was called Crazy Thumbs, which is in South London, which again, anyone that obviously is around, should definitely go take that a visit. Has like a lot of older consoles. It had like a rare Charmander Game Boy Color in there, which was really cool. And never seen it before.
A lot of ports as well, especially if you're into getting stuff from Japan.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely recommend them. And the final shop is Play Nation Games. They've been around for this. That's the gaming shop that me and Raccoon have known about for a while, but they they moved their shop again. But I definitely recommend those game shops as well. Picked up some niche games. I mean, Raccoon, want to start off with the games that you got?
Yeah, so I got myself a copy of Onimusha 3.
Yep.
Perfect condition. I also picked up a copy of Heart of Darkness, which is a really interesting game as well. I got Jersey Devil. That's probably the one that people are going to, why are you buying a copy of Jersey Devil? Don't you worry. Sounded very threatening, didn't it? And as well, I got a copy of Donkey Konga on GameCube with the drum controller and the bag as well.
Yeah.
Which I was super happy about. I I had it in my room for a while, and I think my mum came in and she was looking at it. She was like, "Why did you buy like toy replica drums?" And she was like, "Oh, these are really nice." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a controller." And she's like, "What?" She was shocked, but she was impressed and happy at how detailed and how authentic they look. You wouldn't know that they're controllers just
true.
from a distance. What did you pick up on the day?
So the first game shop, I picked up a copy of a game called iNinja, which was made by Namco. Very underrated game. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's a fun game. And that's actually the game that I was talking about, where getting back into gaming again. So as soon as I got home, I started playing that. Yeah, it's a fun game. Brought back memories. So that's one of the games I picked up. I picked up another copy of Tekken Tag Tournament 1 as well. The reason why I did pick it up, because I had the platinum version of it, so I just wanted to have the non-platinum version to see the CD art. However, when I opened up the case, someone had written over the CD, so I was very unhappy, and it just looks like Kazuya has an extra eyebrow, and I'm just like, this hurts. And I'm thinking, it really just...
At least they didn't like draw like another moustache on his lip or something.
Yeah,
like that. You know what I mean?
Oh gosh, I think I would have cried.
Give him glasses.
Yeah. And then from the second game shop, oh gosh, what did I collect now? I forgot what game I bought from there. Oh yes, I bought Kung Fu on the NES, which I haven't tried yet, but I will try eventually. And then the final game shop, I went to pick up Resident Evil, the very first Resident Evil game, and Dance Dance Revolution for PS1 and PS2, which I really enjoy. Didn't get the map though. I don't want to go a bit too crazy, not just yet. I think I will go back and get the map though. I do want to try out.
When you have the space.
Yeah, when I have the space. But right. Yeah, great games.
Good stuff. We got a good collection of stuff. The day was almost perfect except for the meal.
Oh yeah. Oh, Taco Bell.
We had Taco Bell. So this was the first time I had Taco Bell, and I was not impressed. I'm going to be honest, that was probably the most inconsistent meal I think I've ever somewhat eaten in my life, because I didn't finish it because I'll explain why. I was terrified of being ill, basically, because I just got the sides. I got chips. Some of those chips were hard, like hurt your teeth hard when you bite into them. The nachos were either seasoned or not seasoned. And what was the other thing I got? The chicken strips themselves, they were just way too salty at points. And I only got like a few of them. And I don't know why they give you so much cheese sauce. Yeah,
it was way too much.
Way too, because I got the sides, I got like 3 lots of them.
Yeah.
And I was, dipping everything in the cheese sauce. And I had this very horrifying moment where I said, if I keep consuming this cheese sauce, I'm going to be sick. So I had to stop. Something about that sauce, I was like, somebody was telling me, don't do it, Raccoon. Don't do it. You're going to regret it. But never again.
Yeah, that food. I mean, I've been to one of the different branches, and the branch that I originally went to was fine. But going to this one, I was really looking forward to it. And then when I tried my food, it was sloppy. It was, ugh.
Your thing just fell apart.
Yeah, literally, the bread all the filling that came out just came apart, basically. The chips I had were fine, fortunately, but yeah, the rest of the food was just absolutely just gross. And the place wasn't really clean in there either, I noticed as well. So I was thinking, yeah, definitely when we go back to that area, we're not going back
not
to
doing
that
that
shop.
again.
Nope.
If you have any other Taco Bell stories, you can let us know in the comment section, or you can email us at raccoonplusfriends@gmail.com. I'd love to hear of hopefully positive stories regarding Taco Bell. That's a weird transition, but let's share some stories. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so my gaming memory would be how I actually got introduced into gaming. So me and Obsidian, we used to watch like our aunties play like the classic Resident Evil games. So we didn't have the original first game, they had number 2 and number 3. So we used to watch them play that, and Tomb Raider as well. I think they also played Silent Hill. I can't remember if I might have shared this story quite a few years ago on the podcast, but I'll share it again anyway. There's a bit in Silent Hill where you're in the elementary school, and then you go into one of the female toilets, and then you just hear crying. And then it's funny because all of us just stayed quiet, and then they just paused the game. And they literally were just like, me and Obsidian, because we were really young at the time, was like, what's that? What's going on with that? And it's just like, that always stayed in my mind. that specific scene from Silent Hill 1. But yeah, that's my first gaming memory. I would say my second gaming memory would be something that happened quite recently, actually, which was quite funny. I was on my own and playing Tomb Raider 3, and I think it was like a previous save, going through a level, and I got jump scared at least 3 times. It was actually really funny because I know the level inside and out, so I literally was like, I remembered the cheat code for all the keys, so I literally kind of sped around the level. So I put the cheat codes in, and then went through the level. I predicted the first jump scare, which is basically you go up the corridor. I should say what level it is. It's Old Witch. People that have played Tomb Raider 3, they know. So you go up one of the corridors of the level. It's a very dark corridor, and a dog hops out at you. But I knew that, so I had my gun ready, and I shot the dog as soon as it jumped out. Then after did some platforming and whatnot, and then I put the ticket into the ticket barrier, and literally I killed a rat, and I was like, okay, I know it's definitely one rat, and then literally out of nowhere something started attacking me, so I jumped. I was like, oh my god. Then I went through the next level. I was like, yeah, nothing will jump scare me now. Yeah, I'm good. I know exactly what's coming up. And then went down another dark corridor, door opened, and then one of the enemies just spawned out of the wall, and I just jumped again. I was like, what is going on?
The hell?
Everything's just attacking me for no reason.
Is it because of the cheat codes, maybe?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I broke the game. I don't know. And then I was like, okay. Then I was looking around again, and I thought, okay, nothing can scare me this time. I am good. I know nothing will scare me this time. So then I started running. I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to go back to the direction I came from. And I was like, yeah, running down the corridor. I was like, this corridor looks a bit different. Yeah. Next thing you know, another dog hops out at me out of nowhere. I was like, oh my God. I literally paused the game. And I was just like, oh my days. Why? This game, I swear, this game I've had paranormal experiences with. I can tell you now.
You need to start recording them.
I wish I recorded these. I wish. The amount of things that have happened to me during this game. But yeah, those are my 2 gaming memories.
Okay, cool. Interesting, funny, kind of funny stuff to some extent. I want to share 2, maybe 3 if I can properly remember the third one. But the first one I want to talk about the first time I got my first games console, which was the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, okay.
And I got that for one of my birthdays. I can't remember which one. So I was a young child. Mm-hmm. So I finally got that for my birthday. It was one of those rare cases where you get your presents first thing in the morning before you go to school. So obviously opening my presents first thing is early. Open the game. Obviously the Game Boy Advance is there. Actually, you know what? I think I might... No, scratch that. I think I already had a Game Boy Advance at that point, but the present I was opening was a copy of the port of Super Mario Bros. 3 on the GBA, which I was overly excited about. Everyone knows I wanted that game. So obviously I open it up, you see the box right there. I'm like, oh man, obviously I know I can't play. We've got school in the morning. But I'm like, I've got to open the box, open the box to see it. Game cartridge ain't there.
Oh shit.
I was so upset about that. And I wasn't upset at anyone because I was old enough to know that obviously just some kind of mistake or mishap had happened. But it was a very sad morning or very sad situation where obviously, your friends, oh, happy birthday, Raccoon. And then it's like, oh, did you get the game? Yeah, I got it. But it wasn't in the box. Hopefully my mum will get it for me when I get back. It didn't destroy my whole day, but it was just just that, escalation and just being the highest high point and then just being brought down with the biggest thud you could imagine. I did get the game when I got back, and I still have that copy as well today because I love my Game Boy and my Game Boy SP. I got all the portables for the most part. That was me. I was more like the kid who had the portable consoles in some sense, and I have pretty much almost all of them except for a Switch and a Game Boy Micro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I guess the first Game Boy. I don't have that.
Oh, okay.
Because visually, I don't like the look of it.
It's not the nicest thing.
No, I don't like its colors. But I'm not saying it's a bad console. Just saying I don't like it. It hasn't aesthetically. It hasn't aged well. Nah. But the second story I want to talk about also revolves around Obsidian.
Oh.
And
what story?
I got 2 kind of. Okay. One. I'll do the shorter one first. But obviously, I always talk about Killer 7.
Oh yeah.
So Obsidian really wanted to get a copy of Killer 7, and we finally did when we went to a certain gaming shop, which I'm not sure if it's still around right now. But we finally got Killer 7, and we was playing that because obviously the main place we go to whenever me and Obsidian meet up is his grandma's house. Because, of course, I mean, what, you don't go to someone's grandma's house when you're playing games? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, standards, So we're playing the game, and obviously Killer 7, if you've ever seen that game, which I highly recommend that game if you've never played it or seen it, it's a hard game to play. It's one of the only examples of a game where you kind of need to watch a playthrough before you play the game. Because the tutorial is actually in the second level.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I don't know what the rhyme or reason is that. You can blame Grasshopper Manufacturers or Swery 51. I don't know what that is about. But obviously, yeah, the tutorial's in the second level, and they don't really tell you much in the first. And Obsidian finally playing this game, he's having fun. But the one thing that always bothers me, and I guess bothers people, and it's why people get kind of confused as to whether this is a horror game or not, is when you shoot the enemies, they laugh and scream.
Yeah, it's funny.
And keep in mind, Obsidian's playing this. I'm watching him play it. We're both like, yay, Final Killer 7, And it's about like 8 o'clock. And we're just like, Obsidian's like, man, this is like, I don't like this. This is like weird, and stuff like that. And then we get to the infamous scene where we get to the washing machine. So we open the washing machine, and there's a head in the washing machine. It starts talking in that weird, raspy, robotic voice.
Oh, gosh.
And we just listen to this thing talk. And it, talks, we get the item, the cutscene ends, and Obsidian goes to me, nah, man, this game's too creepy. I'm going to stop playing.
It's something typical that Obsidian would say.
Because it's just like, what is good? Like, at this point, it's like 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's dark outside.
Yeah.
You don't need those visuals right now.
My question to you was you guys playing it in a back room?
No, we were actually playing in the living room. Funny enough.
Okay, that's all right then. If it was in the back room.
No, if it was the back room, not the game, the back room, because that's a game right now. If it was the back room, I don't think we'd ever touch that game again, because we would probably assume that this is the backroom's doing, that they've created this element of the game. The other story I want to talk about is me and Obsidian, we went back to that, not after, but another time we went to that gaming shop, and because I had a tip-off, because I told Obsidian, nah, they got a copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And he was like, Marvel vs. Capcom 2? We got to get that. So we got the bus, got up there, got the copy. I bought the copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. We played that for maybe 6 hours straight. Obviously, Grandma's house, of course. We played that for 6 hours straight, just unlocking all the characters. Probably the most fun and most tiring experience we've had playing games, because I'm not super good at fighting games. I'm more controller. I don't use a fighter pad. Obsidian wasn't using a fighter pad at the time. But we was just mashing buttons, getting as many characters as we could, just doing whatever we could. And like I said, it was a tiring experience. We were just, oh my god. I think the only reason we stopped was because I got picked up. Because we were just playing that game. We were playing that game like it's going out of fashion to some extent. And I remember literally the next day, because I think it was a Sunday, and the Monday after, my hands were so bruised, parts and sections of my fingers were blue and black,
oh, wow.
indented sections. My thumb was sections of my thumb were flat.
Ouch.
Because I was literally just smashing buttons and just doing whatever I could to get certain moves. So my hand looked awful. And I always remember just looking at it being like, damn, that's how you know it's a good game. But that's all the stories I had to share. Do you have any others you want to share? Or we're gonna leave it at that?
Nah, that's it.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of be nostalgic for this discussion and kind of just talk about stuff. Because, I mean, we were getting quite hype about games and stuff like that. And games are, pretty important to both of us. And a lot of people listening as well. And it's always nice to think about, those games or those memories or those moments that, really, really stick with you. Because that's kind of what it's about. The games are fun, games are good. But it's those memories those, the fact that someone was there with you while you're playing it, or how you got the game, or some of the stories you talked about, that 1 in a million, I'm guessing, moments that you've experienced in those games. That's kind of what it's about, and kind of the things you can't quite get with some other mediums as well. Can't really replicate that too much with films, as an example. But that's pretty much going to wrap up the podcast, although we do have the video of the episode, which, Al, I believe you have.
Yes, so my video of the episode is Caddy's review on, the video is called The New Worst Game Ever Made, which is actually based off The Lion and the King. And the funny thing is, a little bit of story behind it is, when we went on our gaming trip adventure last week, I was looking through the PS1 games and I thought, Lion and the King, this looks bootleg. And I literally took it out of the shelf. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wait, let me turn this over. I saw the actual like shots of the game and everything, like little pictures and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the game that Caddy reviewed, the Phoenix games. And I literally was like, Raccoon, you need to look at this now. Do you remember this? And it was just like, we were just laughing about it. But yeah, I would like for you guys to go watch this video. It's a very, very funny review. This game is bootleg as you can get. And also, you know, if you're Caddy fans, you know, but if you guys aren't, I definitely recommend this game reviewer. He's excellent. Yeah. Every game video he does is so funny. Just, yeah.
He's definitely higher ranking in my books.
Yeah, check him out, guys.
Definitely. But yeah, no, that's a good selection. That's quite a long video as well.
Yeah, it's very long.
It's well worth it.
Grab your popcorn, grab a drink, just sit down and watch.
Exactly. Anything else you want to add to this podcast?
No, I think that's it, actually.
I have one thing I want to add. I did briefly talk about this on the last podcast, but I guess I'm going to say it in more of a official sense. And that is that next week, I am going to be live streaming games on my live stream channel, which is called The Prehistoric Raccoon. You can go subscribe to that channel. I'm going to put it in the description so you guys can go follow it or just, you know, be ready for the live stream. I'm going to be live streaming on next Friday, which I can't remember what that is right now because I forgot to actually make the date.
11th.
The 11th of November. I'm going to be live streaming from 6 p.m. on the 11th of November. I'm going to be playing Resident Evil Village in third-person mode. I'm going to do a whole playthrough of it, not in one sitting because that's quite a long game. And I'm going to work my way through all the content of Resident Evil 8. And hopefully, up until whenever, I'm going to try and live stream every Friday on that channel. Cool. So you guys are going to have content from 6 p.m. every Friday. We'll see how well that goes. I'm going to try and do it even throughout Christmas as well, just to give you guys some content. Although the videos during Christmas might be pre-recorded, only because I think everyone should be enjoying their holidays at that point. Yeah. But yeah, it'd be lovely to see any of you guys listening to this podcast or fans of this channel on that channel. If you're into video games, live stream, you want to hear a more, you know, live direct version of me to some extent. I'd really appreciate if anyone does come over, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Al, I want to thank you for being on this podcast.
No problem.
It's been really fun, if not short. And yeah, I guess I'll end this podcast like I always do, sorry, messed it up there, by saying I was the Angry Raccoon.
I'm the Indigenous Al.
And we will see you on the next podcast.